Hey guys, Richie here. It is pre-travel day. So for today's video, we're going to take you through our travel day prep. But first, let us tell you about this amazing, breathtaking place nestled in the Ocala National Forest.
Plus, a savings tips for your future visit here or any other federal park.
We are currently sitting in the Salt Springs Day Use Recreation Area. There are tons of grills and picnic tables scattered throughout, underneath a beautiful canopy of live oaks and magnolia trees. The entrance fee is about 12 bucks a person. If you are camping, you get in here for free.
Just note, during peak season, parking at the spring is reserved for paying guests only. That means if you're staying at the campground, there is two options. You can either bike here to the main entrance or walk. Depending on where your campsite is, it's about 3/4 of a mile. Speaking of the campground, there are roughly 100 paved full hookup sites, plus another 50 primitive sites, making this the largest campground in the Ocala National Forest, which is kind of cool.
The full hookup sites are primarily level. They're a mixed bag of crowded with trees. Some of them are wide open. Some of them have a steep grade that you'll have to get up to. We did have to use our Andersons on our reserved site, which Natalie will get into that in a minute. They all have fire rings, grills, decent size outdoor hanging spaces. So if that's your thing, tear it up. The overall park is big rig friendly also.
Okay, before we get into what makes this place so breathtaking and share our footage with you of the things we experienced while we were here, let's talk about that tip for when you visit Salt Springs and how you can get in here at a lower price or even when it's booked up. For the camping fee specifically, check out the America the Beautiful Pass. The military, senior, and access passes all give you a steep discount on camping, not just here, but at many federal campgrounds. Salt Springs, the recreation area, is ran by a third party. So unfortunately, the America the Beautiful Pass doesn't get you free access in here. So in order to use that savings tip, you're gonna have to stay at the campground. So that brings us to our other tip, which is even if you can't get a full reservation for the time you wanna come, if you can snag your first day or your first couple days, book that reservation. Head over to recreation.gov or download the app, find a couple days that works for your schedule, book those first few days, show up, and with those overnight stays, you actually get first access to the first come, first serve sites. Salt Springs is split between reservable and first come, first serve sites. So roughly 40 of them will never be available online. So what we did is we booked 3 days and we showed up and at check-in asked, hey, what's the deal? They told us as early as 8 a.m. the day we check out, we can come down there and put in, this is the site we want to move to. So that's exactly what we did. We booked 3 nights and we were able to extend 11 more to the maximum of 14 days here at this park. So hopefully that tip will help you out. The America the Beautiful Pass is a great addition. Just note that if you make a reservation the way we did, they will not let you switch to a first come, first serve site until you finish out your reservation. So that reservation does give you first claim to the first come, first serve sites, but you have to finish your reservation.
So what is so special about Salt Springs and why is it worth visiting? The obvious attraction is the spring, which is one of few Florida springs that actually allows you to swim in the spring. Aside from the spring, we'll get to that in a minute, a lesser known attribute of the park is the trails that run through the park itself. There's a few decent trails that we spent a few hours stretching our legs on, getting in some run time, getting the cat out to stretch his legs, maybe try to cure some of his crazy eyes, get some of his energy expended. Cole obviously likes a, tree-covered little tunnel-like path to where he can feel safe to walk around.
Speaking of tree-covered trails, it is worth noting that the trails connected to the campground are a little rough. There are definitely some obstacles, so be ready for that. The loop that is within the campground is only about 1.5 miles, which makes it great. But if you're looking for some biking trails, even possibly ORV trails, there is access from the campground straight to NFS 43, a dirt road that goes further into the National Forest. The trails in Ocala National Forest are abundant. The closest real viewing spot near the campground is Adams Pond. We never made it over there because we were just enjoying the spring too much. Even when the temperature dropped almost 25 degrees, we've made ourselves get out, and I'm so glad we did because we headed over to the spring, and even though it was completely empty and a little chilly, it led to an amazing experience.
You mean when I spotted the surface disturbances and we decided to hightail it back to the RV and get our paddle boards?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's still like a dream to me. You want to tell them about it?
I do. Let me set the scene. A couple days ago, a cold front moved in, and like she already stated, the temperatures dropped about 20 degrees. So we know that temperature changes will affect your chances of seeing the manatees. If it's too warm, they'll go out towards the ocean. Colder, they'll come inland, so on and so forth. So we hightailed it back to the camper to get our paddle boards, and we quickly paddled over to where I saw the trademark snoots and the fluke footprints, but to no avail. They were gone. So and as recompense, we said, well, it's fine. We at least still got out and saw the sunshine, and getting on the water is always a good time. But then, look at me. It was as if the manatee god, deity, if you will, or the universe itself decided to reward our peaceful acceptance. We were greeted by more snoots and flukes. We were soon surrounded by a small group of manatees.
It was awesome. It was beyond amazing. We were completely alone on this tiny little lake, and all of a sudden there's just manatees just hanging out with us. They were so cool, so curious, and just like they're ocean potatoes. Just seeing their little snoots come up. We even had some just like following us around. It was just the most amazing experience. If it was warmer, we could have actually swam with them. Even though we didn't get to swim with the manatees, I'm still happy that you got to do some diving and exploring in the spring when I was too much of a sissy to go swimming. How was that?
Moist. It was pretty moist. For real though, it was awesome. There was a lot of sediment in the water, which is from the intense flow of the spring itself, dispersing the minerals into the spring, which is what makes it so attractive to all of the fish and crabs. Crabs everywhere. It felt like I was swimming in an aquarium. It was so cool to swim with several different species of fish, even dive down into the spring heads a little bit. Like I said, there was a lot of flow, so it was really hard to get down in there because it was just pushing me up. And I was also one-handed because I was filming for you guys. I was taken by surprise by a stingray though. I was not expecting to see a stingray. So I was pretty focused on a group of fish that I was following, trying to get on film. And then suddenly I looked down and I was swimming over top of a stingray. He was about 10 inches from my chest. And if you know me, you know I grew up watching Steve Irwin on Animal Planet. And which today, as we're recording this, happens to be his birthday. So happy birthday, Steve. You're missed beyond belief. That is significant because if you know the story of his passing, you would understand the sudden urgency I felt to distance myself from the stabby pancake and get to safer waters.
Stabby pancake?
Yeah, that's what I came up with.
I think he was a little bigger than a pancake.
Not to my standards. All right, so back to travel day prep. We like to look ahead and see what the weather's going to be like. Right now it's a little windy. At our next stops, and also see what kind of surroundings we've got. If it's a lot of water and stuff and it's going to be nice, we'll leave the paddlecraft inflated and figure out how to transport it big. So we are headed out on a quite busy travel schedule next week, so we're going to deflate the items so they're easier to transport. What a concept. Next, I'm going to work on loosening the stabilizers. I'll go into a little bit more detail on these on a future video, but just gotta make sure you loosen these bad boys. The jacks don't like to move when they're tight. Ask me how I know. So these are just on the front. Of course, I closed this prematurely because I need to get my drill, which Natalie has hidden from me. Notice I said drill. Come with me. If your RV has jacks like these, or anything with a long screw like this and a threaded bushing in the back, make sure you're using a drill on them, not an impact. You're ruining your screws in the bushing by using an impact on these. See how smooth that was? See how people in the next county couldn't hear me putting my jacks up? Yeah, everyone can hear you ruining your RV when you use an impact. Practice safe jacks. We need to trademark that, by the way. Practice safe jacks, kids. All right, and with that, it's on to the next item, which is the hookups. I'm gonna dump the tank since we're going to a full hookup site. I'm just gonna dump them now. We still got, the rest of the day and overnight, but that's fine. We're going to full hookups, so I'm gonna dump the tanks, disconnect the water. That way in the morning, we can just take off. Before I do that, let's head back in and see what Natalie's up to though.
All right, so inside there's not a ton that we can do because, we still have to make it through tonight and tomorrow morning, but I can put some of the bigger stuff that I know we won't use. The soda streamer, if Richie needed it, he should have already prepared it. That has the only cabinet in the entire place that it will fit in. It goes in there, and I'm gonna put that in front of it. This stuff will have to wait for us to drink coffee in the morning, and it fits in these cabinets up here. These I actually leave. They are kind of sort of glued down. They've been like that for 4 months. So those I don't do anything with. Over here, I just have the salt, pepper, and oil that I put in the pantry. Just kind of stuff them wherever. The utensil holder is also glued down. It's like, I'll show you real quick, hang on. Double-sided sticky tape stuff. We'll put the link in the description below. It's kind of like the stuff they put on credit cards to hold to the mailing. So that's all we'll do in the kitchen tonight. Now we're gonna head over to the dining room to store and transport our rolling desk. We have to first strap down the chair. These chairs, which came with the RV, have convenient storage, so we keep that right in there. Pretty much strap the chair to the floor, strap the table to the chair, good to go. The floor plan originally came with this double D hook right here. It does actually come from the factory with some straps. We just decided bungee cords were easier. And simple enough. That's it for the inside. Well, everything else has to be done in the morning. So back outside to Richie.
So here we go. First, I'm gonna dump the black tank. As the black tank is emptying, I'm gonna disconnect our fresh water line. Got a splitter at the spigot, you know, just standard RV practice. Get a splitter if you don't have one, that way you can use 2 water sources. Or 4, they make 4. So, water's off, but one thing I learned the hard way a couple times, the system is still pressurized. So I've got a spigot outdoor right here. I'll turn that on, and there we go. Pressure's gone. Make sure you turn it back off. Ask me how I know. And then after this handy dandy improvement down here, any water that's left in the line will drain out outside instead of inside. It should be a good practice to keep your fresh hose away from the sewer area. If that's not obvious, then now it is. So I'll come back and check my elbow to see what the water clarity is looking like. It's pretty clear, so I'm gonna flush the black tank out. I'm gonna close the black valve and open up the kitchen gray and let that black tank fill up while the kitchen gray is dumping. So the kitchen gray is getting down to a trickle now, so I'll close that up pretty soon. I'm just gonna close it now. I've still got the black tank flush going, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that now. I like to keep an eye on what the water clarity is like. It's looking pretty clear, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off at the splitter here. I'll explain why this is here in a minute. So tank management can be a bit of a time-consuming process, so I like to do it the night before if we can. You know, if we got a full hookup, that is. So that's down to a trickle on the black tank, so I'm gonna go ahead and close her up. And then I'll open up my flush. That's putting some water back in there. Now, it's good practice to do your black first, and then do your grays. Because these tanks are a lot cleaner than the black. So these will actually flush out your lines as they drain. All right, while that bathroom gray tank is flowing, I'm gonna disconnect my black tank flush hose. So I kill it at the spigot. And now I don't know if something is wrong with our system or if all RVs are like this. Let us know if you experience something like this. I told you I'd get to the splitter. Here's why I have this splitter and the black tank flush hose running outside. Pressure gets built up in here. I don't know if there's a check valve in there that's backwards or plugged or something. But anyway, so this one is on. I'm gonna open this one next. Make sure it's pointed away from you. Because I just sprayed it all over our power cord. Do better. So as you can see, a bunch of pressure just came out of that. Well, when you disconnect these, that pressure goes somewhere. Usually it's all over you. So I got smart, quote unquote, and added a splitter so I can relieve the pressure before I disconnect me hoses. So a nugget of rambling wisdom is, you know how many times I've disconnected this hose? Wrapped it up and just called it a day. You notice what I left connected to the spigot? Now I don't even walk away. I disconnect this and put it away. We did actually forget this literally at the very beginning of our travels when we were mooch stocking at the in-laws. Nat's mom had to drive like an hour to meet us halfway just to bring this. I was cruising down the highway and I was like, shoot! I left the splitter and the regulator hooked up to the house. All right, it looks like the gray tank is about done, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut her up. And then make sure everything's all closed up. And then I'm gonna come over to the Volterra. I'm gonna, you thought I was gonna do the thing, didn't you? No, no. In this house, we wear gloves. I never know what kind of little cuts and scratches I've got going on in my hands. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Just as a tip, it's always good to lift up your hose because there's always going to be a little residual water in here. You don't want to take it with you. So unfortunately, when we had our blowout on this tire right here, it took out our sewer hose thing where you could put it for travel days. So now I put it back here in this thing. Sir, can we help you? So we decided to actually go for a little bike ride. So as you can see, they're not put away yet. I'll show you what we do to put those away when we get back. So that wraps up our pre-travel day checklist, and it also wraps up this video. We're leaving pretty early in the morning. We've got some very exciting stuff coming up in the next couple weeks, and we are looking forward to sharing it with you guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Maybe click the notification bell if you want to be notified of those adventures. See you.